We can endure trials. We can endure difficulties if we know why. Now, I'm not talking about the specific why. Sometimes people come to me and say, Pastor, why did I get this disease? Or why did we have this accident? Or why did I lose my job? Why did we have this setback? And I don't know specifically why. But if we know, maybe not the specific why, but we know that God is working and that He's using this difficulty to transform me, then we still have hope. Look at what Job said. But He knows the way I take. When He has tried me, when I go through the trial, I shall come forth as gold. Job says, I'm going to come out at the end stronger than when I went in. I'm going to come out more pure. I'm going through the fire right now, but I have hope. We can bring a new energy into our work, into our marriage, into our lives, a new joy, a new fulfillment. James says in verse 4, let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking in nothing. Notice those last words, lacking in nothing. God doesn't want you lacking. And in fact, look at the next verse, and He speaks of our lack. But if any of you lacks what? Wisdom. If you lack wisdom, ask of God. Ask of God. Lord, what are you teaching me through this trial? Wisdom and hope go together. Look at this next verse in Proverbs 24. My son, eat honey, for it is good. Yes, the honey from the comb is sweet to your taste. Know that wisdom is thus for your soul. Isn't that neat what he's saying? He's saying as sweet as honey is to your tongue, wisdom is to your soul. If you find it, then there will be a future, and your hope will not be cut off. You can still have hope as you gain wisdom from God. Lord, why am I going through this difficulty? Why am I going through this trial? Well, He may not give you a specific reason, but I want to tell you something. You can know that He is going to give you some wisdom through it all. I remember a conversation I had one time with a friend of mine who had gotten a disease, and he conquered it and got well. And I still remember we were riding down the road in the car, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, I wouldn't want to go through that again. And he said, it was awful. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But he said, I wouldn't take what I got. I wouldn't take what I got from going through that for anything. That's kind of what Job is saying. Wisdom. I got something I could not have gotten any other way. God does not give you certain things from just reading a book. And I think we ought to read, but I'm telling you, God has to take us through certain experiences and allow us to go through certain experiences. Look at here, Proverbs 24. A wise man is strong. A wise man is strong. He has got something from God he could not have gotten any other way. And so James is saying to us, when you go through these trials, be sure you're asking God for wisdom. Wisdom for what? Wisdom to learn from this opportunity that I'm going through. Lord, don't let me miss what you're trying to teach me. Wisdom. Wisdom that I might make the right decisions as I go through these things. You see, we make our decisions and then our decisions make us. Somebody defined maturity. Maturity is making decisions the way Jesus would. Oftentimes I can only learn that by the experiences of life. The quality of your life will be determined by the decisions you make. Well, I see three things here that I want to give you. First of all, the problem, then the prescription, and then the promise. First of all, the problem. We see it in verse 6 of James 1. But he must ask in faith without any doubting. For the one who doubts is like the surf of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. Doubt is the problem. The problem is doubt. You see, when we go through trials, there's a real tendency to begin to doubt God. There's a real tendency to not learn wisdom and not seek God and say, God, what are you teaching me? The word doubt here is translated in other places in the Scripture, confused. It is used to describe a drunkard, a drunk staggering along, unstable in his walk, somebody indecisive. One day's up, one day's down. Indecisive. Pilgrim's Progress, the great book, speaks of Mr. Face Both Ways. You know, he's great on Sunday, and then through the week he's, not so. The problem is when we go through trials, we tend to doubt. We tend to doubt God, and we're indecisive. Here's the prescription. The prescription is, in verse 5, if any of you lacks wisdom, and that's almost cynical to me, that question, because we all lack wisdom. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God. Let him ask of God, who gives to all generously and without reproach, and it will be given. Wow, God's a giver. He's anxious to give to you. Solomon was born, about 975 years before Christ. He was the son of David. David was the greatest king Israel ever had. David ushered Israel into its golden era. David, when he gave the throne to his son Solomon, Israel was the most powerful nation on the face of the earth. No one would rise up against Israel. David was a great, great man. He wrote the hymns of his nation. We call them the Psalms. He wrote most of those. Great man, an incredible man, the greatest king Israel ever had. And Solomon becomes the next king. Solomon's only 12 years old. He's not only got the pressure of following in the footsteps of the greatest king in the history of his nation, his daddy is, and then he's only 12. And so God came to Solomon in the night in a dream. God used to speak to people in special ways before the Bible was complete, and unusual ways like this, very unique. And he came to Solomon in a dream one night, and he said, Solomon, ask what you will, and I will do it for you. And here's Solomon's request to God. So give your servant an understanding heart to judge your people. That's what he asked for. I want an understanding heart. I need wisdom to discern between good and evil. For who is able to judge this great people of yours? And it was pleasing in the sight of the Lord that Solomon asked this thing. God said to him, because you've asked this thing and have not asked for yourself long life, nor have asked riches for yourself, nor have asked for the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself discernment to understand justice. Behold, I have done according to your words. Behold, I have given you a wise and a discerning heart, so that there has been no one like you before you, and nor shall anyone like you arise after you. I have also given you what you have not asked, both riches and honor, so that there will not be any among the kings like you all your days. Listen, there was no one prior to Solomon like Solomon. There was no one from Solomon to this day like Solomon.